Well, but how do you take a pick? How do you know when? And how do you know when to pull out, more importantly?
Ma'am, if I have even 5 paise, it's all from trading. No, I earn from trade because I had no capital and I don't manage anybody's money except my wife's money. No, I think women also know and understand, but the problem is that tips are hazardous for health, and you can't make money from borrowed knowledge. Everything which is good in love, good in life is dicey, ma'am, including pretty girls.
Do you think working in the stock market or working with the stock market, is that gambling, or you think it's extremely practical, extremely calculated investment?
I really have to know how are you this person that you are today. I would love to know the journey that you went through, because as a kid, did you always know that this is what you wanted to do when you were growing up?
Yeah, I think by the time I was 12, 13, I knew, because my father also used to invest in the market, and he would discuss with his friends about the market. And at the age of 12, 13, people find something fascinating, fighter jets. Most people want to be plane pilots. Somebody wants to be a journalist.
Exactly.
At that age, all my boys are interested in girls. But I was found
You were not interested.
I was more interested in the stock market. So I found the stock market very intriguing, because prices used to fluctuate. So that is why the price fluctuates.
Correct.
So my dad then used to try and explain to me, and I got very interested, and I decided at that age that I'm going to make life in the stock market.
So at 12, 13 years old, you decided that?
Yeah.
So I am, I don't know anything about stocks at all, and I'm sure you must be asked this so many times, about like, where should someone start? How can I, as a beginner, start off my journey? How do I know which stocks that I should?
Shraddha, it's a professional job. Suppose today I tell you, buy A, B, C share. You buy it, you forget it, forget about it, I forget, I tell you, something changes, share goes up, then it goes down. Who is there to monitor it? So you have to blank that, see, whatever wealth you have, suppose you have 100 rupees. You want to buy a house. You want to buy some jewelry. You want to buy some money, you want to interest your regular income. And a certain portion you put in stocks. And I think you should put in stocks. Because I think stocks will give 15 to 20% return, and the rate of tax is 12%.
Right.
What is one tip that you would like to give to all the women who are wanting to now invest? I mean, men invest and they know about stocks, of course, but the women.
No, I think women also know and understand, but the problem is that tips are hazardous for health, and you can't make money from borrowed knowledge. And stock investing, like cooking, can't be taught; it has to be learned.
It has to be learned. So you have to waste some money and burn your fingers.
And you got to experience, because something which can't be taught has to be learned by. I mean, it's like cooking. My mother can, teach my cook everything, but finally what my mother makes is much better than what the cook can make.
So, but you're the recipe book, so let's open up a page and tell us something that you can, that like a thumb rule, I guess.
Ma'am, the quest to learn is a journey. I have learned much, but much is still unlearned.
Yeah.
So I don't think that, despite people saying that I'm a guru or I know everything, right? But one thing I can tell you, markets are like women. Always commanding, always mistress, always uncertain, always volatile, always exciting. And it's not a joke. In my 25, 30 years experience in the markets, just as you can't have a good relationship with a woman by browbeating her or by bullying her, you cannot have a good relationship with the market by trying to bully it or say that you are the king. The king is the market.
So you can never predict.
And just as why women have emotions, markets has emotions. And because it is basically a product of the thoughts and emotions of so many individuals.
Do you think working in the stock market or working with the stock market, is that gambling, or you think it's extremely practical, extremely calculated investment?
Ma'am, I will give you an answer that, see, excesses in life are not right. I don't say that gambling, drinking or anything in life is wrong or right.
No, my answer was not, my question was, what do you think working in the stock market or working with the stock, is it a gamble or is it?
See, I can tell you life is a gamble, marriage is the ultimate.
Okay, right. You said everything is a gamble.
Everything in life, because see, it's a probability,
Yeah.
right? And how well you judge probabilities
Yeah.
is what all.
You calculate it.
I am a calculator.
You calculate it.
Absolutely,
So it's not a tukka.
No, it's not a tukka, ma'am. If it was a tukka, everybody would have been in the market.
But you just said that God, things just happen in life sometimes.
See, what I feel is that, you know, if God gives equal luck to everybody, He's not unfair to anybody.
Okay.
You know, Shakespeare said there comes a time in a man's his life when you must seize the opportunity, seize it. And if you don't seize it,
it goes away.
It goes away. So I think and then it requires guts, it requires conviction,
Courage.
It requires belief, courage. I've been a very courageous man.
Yeah.
I'm in the stock market with 5,000 rupees.
Yeah.
My father said, where are you going to get the money from? And he advised me that he has a house, I can always live there. I'm a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
Shattered, we are all shattered by the time we are chartered.
Yeah.
Can always make a living. But I have the guts, the belief, the conviction. I've never come from a middle class family. I've
Yeah.
never done a job in my life. Never had a salary until today.
Yeah.
So and ma'am, the final, I have 3 mottos in my office. I have a prayer, which says God's grace and endless blessings.
Yeah.
Don't believe Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is Rakesh Jhunjhunwala because he's Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is Rakesh Jhunjhunwala because God has chosen him to be Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
Absolutely.
Sonam Kapoor is not Sonam Kapoor because she's Sonam Kapoor. No, because all adjectives are transient and temporary. It may be there today, it may not be there tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And then I say, I have a motto, where health is held high and the mind is without fear.
Yeah.
So try and arrange your affairs in such a way that, you're not afraid of anything in life. With God and wife, you have no choice, you have to be afraid.
Question, but first, what motivates you?
A sense of achievement. I deal with the stock markets. The stock markets are uncertain. Is the difference of opinion which makes the stock market interesting. And whenever there is a buy in the stock market, there is a seller. Right? See, wealth isn't going to mean much to me more. Right? But what gives me the thrill is of being proved right. And if I use the wrong methods in being proved right, I don't get a thrill. I get a thrill by reading, by understanding what's publicly available. And then being proved right is far more, and I live for a sense of achievement. My sense of achievement is fair means, being right. And also one thing now which motivates me is, it's not that I have achieved all my financial aims. I want to buy a private plane. I want to be but I'm a frugal man. And I also want to do a lot of charity. What I've learned in life is that happiness is a state of mind. It's not permanent, it's transitory,
yes.
it comes, it
I
goes.
completely agree with that also.
And peace of mind is more permanent. But I think the source of happiness and peace of mind is contentment. We have to be contented with what we have.
Yes.
But doesn't mean we don't strive for better. But we don't use the wrong means. We aspire, but we don't envy. I don't think that happiness can come through relationships. Happiness is something which is very individualistic.
Yes.
And very peculiar to an individual. And I have found individuals who have, who are earning 10,000 rupees a month, but they're so happy. I find they're happier than me because they're contented with what they have. So I think the source of happiness lies there. But we should aspire.
Okay.
Who wanted me to do what I enjoyed.
That's
And
lovely.
he could see when I discussed with me and when I read a little, tried to understand, even at that young age, he judged that my aptitude towards the stock market is good.
That's
And then we come from a community which is known for trading and speculative activity,
correct.
right? And and then my father always encouraged me. He said, do one thing. He was a government servant. We had no real wealth or no business. So he said, if you don't study, you can become a peon. Otherwise, you do your BCom and do your CA, then you'll have security in life. Suppose you want to go to the stock market and don't succeed, then you can always go, lie back on a job. And I think it's more to do with my father's attitude of letting me do what I want.
But that was actually going to be my next question. I have to commend him for that, because actually the stock market is a very dicey place to, kind of set your career in.
Everything which is good in love, good in life is dicey, ma'am, including pretty girls.
Okay, well said once again. I'm going to pick up these one-liners and take it and just say it to people later. So that was amazing of him too. He really had belief in you. And do you thank him for that today? Like, do you really feel grateful?
I think I cannot thank him enough in life. I lost him in 2008. I still miss him. And we used to argue as if, he was a born socialist, I was a born capitalist. And my mother had made a rule, no discussion on the dining table. If you all talk, she won't have dinner. That's the only way she could keep both of us quiet. And we had fierce, disagreements and fierce, if he thought east, I thought west.
Really?
But we had fierce liking and love for each other.
I'm sure the stock market is a very busy, at least it seems like to a layman, because I have no idea about the stock market. Let me just put it out there for you guys. I have no idea.
But stock market is like woman. Always commanding, always mistress, always uncertain. Always volatile, always exciting. So we want to if you want to perform well in the stock market, see, stock market is as much about psychology as about reality.
Correct.
Right? So unless you have a temperament where you can adjust to the stock market, you cannot succeed there.
So you have to really.
And the only king is the market. There are no kings in markets. All those try to become kings of the stock market went to Arthur Road jail. So market is the king. So and you cannot have a good relationship with a woman by browbeating her. The only way you can have, this is something which I have learned really in life.
Correct.
The only way you can have is by respecting her, by understanding her, by adjusting with her. That's why markets like women like markets are actually very complementary and similar words. And I have two interests in life, markets and women. Both are concerned with 4-letter words. Markets with risk and women with love.
Oh, that's So, but how do you unwind when you come back home after a heavy day?
Well, I like to read.
Okay.
Then I like to watch some movies.
So you watch movies?
I mean, I've always been very curious. I'm not really big on stocks, I'll be honest. But it's actually scared me. There's enough instability in my life, in the profession that I am in. With every film, it decides your destiny. With every choice that you have to make to do a film, you have to be sure whether that's the right thing to do or not. So stocks, I'm just like, I want the rest of my life should have certain stability to it. But my mom, who takes care of most of my finances and things like that, is a little bit of a genius when it comes to these things as well. So I've always wondered, I mean, she has a huge interest in the market. And she really enjoys it. She thrives on it, which I'm pretty sure you do as well. But how do you take a pick? How do you know when? And how do you know when to pull out, more importantly?
Ma'am, I can't describe, one thing I feel the most important thing to succeed in the stock market is your attitude towards the market. 2-3 things. I think first thing is you must realize that the market is supreme, ultimately. But in the mid-set markets, do excesses. You must recognize those excesses, right? And you benefit from the excesses. In the stock market, something worth 5 sometimes sells for 50, right? And you must have an attitude that with time, everything changes and passes. See, most of us are affected by the stock market, what has happened in the immediate future, in the immediate past. So, we cannot really illustrate. We have to treat each situation separately. But one thing I can tell you, the most interesting part about investing is, just I talked to somebody in the hotel here that we were discussing the hotel industry. We invest in a hotel industry, we invest in a bank, we invest in a consumer electronics company, we invest in a consumer marketing company. I have investment in Titan. We have investments in so many different aspects. I have invested in Prime Focus, if you heard of it, I don't know.
Yeah, of course I know.
So I'm one of the earliest promoters actually.
Really? They've worked on a lot of my movies.
So, the most interesting aspect of investing is the kind of mental and intelligence you have to use, mental power. And it requires the use of all senses, just as the Kama Sutra says. That, you don't only have to look at material matters, about figures, you got to judge character of people, right? You got to judge the quality of entrepreneurs. So interesting is such an encompassing and interesting profession. And the greatest thing about it is the uncertainty.
But isn't that like a really big description? I mean, does it take all that to decide on what to invest in?
Absolutely, ma'am.
what do you say to people who believe that it's a huge risk in investing in a stock market?
And our markets are governed by two human emotions, fear and greed. So don't let fear overwhelm you, and let not greed, also overwhelm. So be reasonable in your expectations, and I think that's what I think, that we should invest. If I have even 5 paise, it's all from trading. I earn from trade because I had no capital and I don't manage anybody's money except my wife's money.
So what advice would you give to say someone like me? Suppose I wanted to invest on my own for the first time. I'm sure my dad's handling that for me right now.
No, what advice I would give you is that you should put up a certain amount of money every month, which you invest in the markets in a systematic investment plan, regardless of whatever the level of the markets. Because I think this bull market in India is not going to get finished. There could be corrections for the next 30-40 years.